Welcome everyone to Fanboy Frenzy, the only podcast on the internet whose words are more magical than Orcos. I am your host, Ryan Jarvis, and for this special episode this week of Fanboy Frenzy, we have a guest that's par excellence. We have a Mr. Daniel Benedict, who is the writer and creator of the best, most epic, fan-made He-Man movie ever created. And its name is Fall of Grayskull. And so we want to welcome everybody to the show, Mr. Daniel Benedict. How you doing, Mr. Benedict?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, sir. Right here live at Fanboy Frenzy headquarters. It's not Grayskull, but it's all that we have. So I want to thank you for coming on this week. Well, I tell you what, I want to get right to it.
Thank you.
What exactly are you working on? All this buzz around a He-Man movie. None of us have been blessed to have a He-Man movie since the late 80s. So what kind of brought this on, Mr. Benedict? What was that genesis? What was the beginning of all this that made you decide, hey, I'm going to make one since Hollywood won't get off their ass and make one?
Okay, you just asked me like 10 questions. Hold on. Okay, so let's see. Last year I was finishing up. I had finished up a film, and I was watching one of my friends' He-Man fan films, and I was just thinking to myself, you know, I love He-Man so much, and I love these characters, and I love the stories, and I love making movies and videos and films. You know, why haven't I made a He-Man movie yet? And so I was like, you know, I should. Let's do it. And you know, there hasn't been, like you said, an official He-Man film since the 80s, and hopefully there will be an official one soon. I've noticed a lot of buzz about that.
Yes.
On the internet with Jeff Wadlow turning in a script to Sony at the end of last year, and so hopefully. But anyway, I knew that was going to. I knew that they were working on an official film for He-Man. So I decided, you know, before that comes out, I need to go ahead. If I'm going to do it, I need to do it before theirs, you know, comes out. That way, you know, it would make more sense. Why would I make something or try to make something good when something great has already come out? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I just decided I wasn't, you know, 100% ready to do it, but I needed to go ahead and just jump in and do it and get it, you know, going. That way it can be made.
That's great. Well, let me ask you something. When I was looking at the website, fallofgrayskull.com, which everyone really needs to check out, there's some great information on there. I noticed that, you know, this has been a long process. When did you begin the fundraising for this on Kickstarter, sir?
The fundraising started back in April, I think, and we started Kickstarter. We exceeded our goal, and it was a really awesome experience. The entire time I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get this much money. There's no way," but it happened, and it's amazing.
What did you think week after week, month after month, when the money started coming in for this? I mean, what was your initial thoughts there? I mean, how did you feel? Was you really that shocked about that?
I was, and I was surprised. I was glad, but at the same time, I was kind of scared because I was, you know, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, if we don't raise this money, I don't have to go through with all of this hard work. And then all the money was coming in, and we exceeded our goals. So I was like, well, I've got to make it now. So it's coming.
Yeah, that's right. You set it up. Now, this story that you're doing, obviously we don't want to give anything away. But the question I have is, with so much canon with the He-Man universe, books, comics, you name it, being a kid and growing up with it like I did, as you did yourself, is some of this story something that's been kind of in your head for quite a while, and you just now had the opportunity to put on paper? I mean, how much of this was organic, and had you been thinking about this for a while?
It's the story is not something that I have thought of, you know, since my childhood, but it is the characters and the way they interact and the way the story, unfolds, is reminiscent of how I always viewed, He-Man should be. So I take pieces from the 80s cartoon, from the 2002 cartoon, bits from the live action film, some from the mini comics. I take bits and pieces here and there, and I've constructed this story that I feel that is engaging, simplistic. It's not I don't have like 30 plots going on at once, and I didn't want to dilute anything. I didn't want to dilute anything with the characters either. I selected specific characters. I didn't throw in every single He-Man character, from all time. I picked some specific ones that interact well with each other. And, I've got, you've got like a cyborg and a witch and a demon versus, some barbarians. And I think that's a pretty awesome dynamic.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, when you actually were going into casting for this, because people can go on and they can see your initial Kickstarter video, and they can see the actors who are going to be playing these roles. I do know that you had how many movies out before this? With your development company, I know there was a movie. Was it called Bunny?
Yeah, we just released Bunny. It premiered at PowerCon. In 2013 in California. So that was kind of cool that I got to premiere a film not related to He-Man, although It does have many He-Man references in it. But I got to premiere at a He-Man convention, so that was pretty cool.
That is awesome. Now, the actors that are all in this movie, have they all been in, were they all in that movie, like the individual that played He-Man? How did you kind of come up with these individuals as playing these roles? And were they super stoked about that, as I imagine they would be?
Every person was very excited that I asked. I hand-selected everyone. Two of the people that are in Follow Grayskull were in Bunny. Allie and Mercedes, they play Tila and Evelyn. They are perfect together. They have a good yin-yang thing going on. They act well against each other, and I thought it would be awesome to have, Tila and Evelyn, from my previous film. He-Man is played by Brian Cage. He's a bodybuilder and a professional wrestler. I found him on the internet. He was He-Man was the hardest one to cast, really. It was, I didn't want, the guy needed to be huge. He couldn't be just, muscular. He needed to be ridiculously gigantic.
Right, like a beast.
And, but he also yes, because he's, the most powerful man in the universe, so he's got to look like it. And also, I needed somebody that, had talent and could act. And, being a wrestler, you have to have, acting skills and talent and being able to talk in front of a camera. So anyway, I was at a loss. I had most of my cast, and I was like, well, who am I going to get to do He-Man? So I racked my brain. I couldn't think of anyone. I started searching online for local, gyms and stuff, and bodybuilding leagues. Mm-hmm. And originally I was gonna film it in Los Angeles, and so I was searching gyms and stuff in that area. And one day I was like, what about a professional wrestler? That would be interesting. So I searched for, local wrestling leagues there, and I found one, and I looked at their roster, and none of them really fit the bill except for one. It was Brian. So I did some cyber stalking, found out how to get a hold of him, and contacted him. And it turned out that he is a huge He-Man fan. He's a huge comic fan, loves Marvel, and so he was super stoked from the beginning, and he has worked out perfectly. I couldn't ask for a better He-Man.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. When I seen that casting choice, I'm actually a fan of wrestling and have been since I was a wee lad. And so I actually recognized him instantly from shows that I had watched. So, yeah, he's absolutely a perfect He-Man when you look at him. But speaking of He-Man, you made a point that He-Man is a guy that's supposed to be the most powerful man in the universe. He looks like he could work at GNC and get by, if you know what I mean. So what is it about He-Man that makes him such a pop culture icon? Like, from his perspective, what is it you think about that character that would be like one of those first choices that made you want to make a movie about him? You know, what makes He-Man so special in the minds of fans?
Well, I think you have to go back to the 80s and everyone's childhood to understand, I guess. I think that He-Man is the, he's kind of like the Conan meets Superman. You know, he's this, what every kid wanted to be. I mean, what kid didn't want to be like super powerful and this superhero, with this sword who battles all these crazy monsters and things like that. And it's not just the character itself, I think, that is so, that was so awesome to us as kids, but it was just the stories themselves and the cartoon and the toys, all of the different characters and crazy colors and the stories and the toys, just really, it's captivating. I mean, you've got people wearing like bearskin underwear, but like riding in spaceships. It's just, it's really, it's got everything that a kid or anybody really that's the fan of fantasy or science fiction or anything would want. I can't think of anything else that compares, or at least, originally. I mean, you've got like Thundercats, which came a little bit after, but
right.
But yeah.
I agree. I think, when it comes to He-Man and that character, the idea that, if I got the sword and if I could lift it up over my head, that I could be that hero. And even though, Prince Adam was pretty stout, let's make no mistake. I mean, he was rocking a V-neck almost way before it was cool. So, clearly he was buff. But, the bottom line is like you said, I mean, that universe was just so expansive, man, that it almost transcended time. Because like you said, they're wearing bearskin drawers. You think that'd be something barbarian style, but yet they're using laser weapons. They're using spaceships, which is more of a futuristic take on it. But, He-Man being such a pop culture icon, when it comes to villains, in the 80s, you have characters like Megatron from Transformers. You have Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe. You have Mum-Ra from Thundercats. But Skeletor, to me, always seemed to be the villain that was cool. I mean, what is it about Skeletor's character that, in terms of longevity, people haven't really changed him that much? He-Man's been through quite a few alterations, but what is it about that Skeletor character you think always draws you to that as that villain,
Skeletor is, there's so much to him, I think. There's so much potential and so many facets to his personality. And I mean, well, first of all, just the way he looks. He's got a skeleton face, and he's got this crazy blue and purple costume, and it's just by appearance, he looks menacing. I think I heard something online once that another country in the 80s didn't want to show the episodes that involved Skeletor because it was too scary for children. And I guess, being a kid, being 3 or 4 years old in the 80s, having a villain with this, skeleton face is, kind of scary, but in a cool way. And then the movie came out, the 87 movie, and oh man, I mean, Skeletor was so glorious. Frank Langella in that movie.
He destroyed that role. He did so wonderful at that.
Yes, and I think I think that he's got he's crazy. I think he's just so hungry for power and authority. He wants to rule the universe. He's not satisfied with just hanging out in Snake Mountain. He wants to rule the entire universe, and he wants to be above everyone. He wants to be God, basically. And I think that's what more motive can an ultimate villain have,
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to characters with He-Man, there's so many different ones that you could go with, and I know the ones you chose are all amazing choices. Let's just say, hypothetically, I see Fall of Grayskull being a huge hit for you, and I'm excited to see it come to the point when I can buy it on DVD myself. But the question is, if you have it to where you can do a follow-up, is there any characters that you would like to see, or that you would people have been telling you they want to see in another movie, if you can make that happen, which I think you surely can? Anybody stick out to you?
Well, yeah. If I could do a follow-up or go back and make a full version, this is just going to be a short film. It's just going to be the climax of a larger story. If I could go back and film the rest or do a follow-up, one character that I haven't included that probably should be included is Beastman.
Yeah.
But I would have to have, more money, because I'm not really sure how I would do Beastman. That would be tough, I think, to do him like really well.
Yeah, because I didn't think in the 80s in the Dolph Lundgren He-Man, I didn't think they did Beastman quite the justice that he should have had as a kid, because his figure was always amazing. I enjoyed watching him on the cartoon. Mm-hmm. He just had a distinct look, and I didn't think they did him justice. But yeah, you're right. He would definitely be a huge fan favorite. But to your point, how do you do him and do him justice is going to be pretty tricky.
Yeah, Beastman. Ram Man would be another one. These are all, pretty top-tiered characters, that have been around since the beginning. And I think that all those the first 8 figures, I think, Merman and Man-at-Arms, I think all of those deserve to be in a film. But I had to really cut it down. It's just going to be a short movie, so I couldn't include everybody. So I had to just pick, certain ones that were doable, given, my restrictions, but also at the same time, awesome and key to the main mythos of Masters.
Right, and but your choices were amazing. Make no mistake. Now, when it comes to the movie itself, I know that you're wanting to do basically the climax scene at the end of what would have been a full-length movie if that can come to pass. Now, what kind of time are you looking at in this movie? Is there a set time you think it's going to run on camera time?
This is just a complete ballpark, just a guess. It's probably between 25 to 30 minutes,
okay.
Just based on what I've shot and the script length. I'm going to guess that.
Okay. You said it's sometime, your goal is to try to get it out sometime this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, on Kickstarter, for the rewards, I put the estimated delivery date as December 2015. But I hope to have it out way before then, at least, to be able to show. I probably won't have the DVDs and all the rewards out to Kickstarter people till later, closer to the end of the year. But I want to be able to have it, edited and ready to show, hopefully by summer. That's the goal. But life is so hectic, and I have so many projects going on, and my day job and all this stuff that keeps me from really buckling down. I'm finishing up a few little projects that I have left, which I have to do because they're also funding more of this film. So I've got to finish those up, and hopefully by the end of this month, I will be able to buckle down, lock myself in my house, and really get a workflow going and pump this thing out.
All right. Well, I tell you, something else that we kind of I'd had some people asking about was the He-Man character design or the costume design. If I'm not mistaken, did you not say it's kind of a takeoff of the 80s cartoon, or did you do a slight revamp, kind of like the 80s movie where they tweaked it a little bit?
The He-Man costume. I tried to keep it. I love the Filmation and the original toy.
Yeah,
I love the look of it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing. I think that to me that is He-Man, and the Dolph Lundgren costume was not He-Man.
He had a cape, for God's sake. What were they thinking?
Yeah, I don't mind the cape. It was just when I think of He-Man, I think of that the cross in the middle.
Yeah, right in the
of
middle.
His armor.
Yeah.
Had they included that would have probably changed the whole costume. But it's what I tried to do was take a little bit of the original cartoon and the toy, and then the 2000X cartoon and toy, and kind of mesh them together and add some realism to it. So I think that we've accomplished balancing what He-Man should look like, but making it realistic and not looking like some guy just dressed up to go to a convention. And Johnny Bilson was who plays Triclops, made most of that costume, made the armor. I probably drove him crazy, by pestering him and being so meticulous about certain aspects of it. But he did. When I first saw it in person, I almost crapped my pants because it looked so perfect. I can't tell you how perfect it is, and I haven't shown it publicly yet, and I probably will release that in a month or two. You'll see that, because I'm kind of like saving that, because that's my favorite part of everything. It looks so cool with the armor, so
oh yeah,
I'm just holding on to it. I want to show everybody everything, but I've got to kind of stretch out the photos and character reveals and such to keep people's interest. I don't want to shove everything in everyone's face immediately, and then 6 months later, there was supposed to be a movie that was coming out, wasn't it?
But we've already seen everything, so yeah, you don't want to blow that too early. I mean, you definitely want to keep the suspense. I mean, for sure. I'm actually getting some messages here on a fan page from some people that want to know. You don't have to go there on this, but when it comes down to the late '80s movie, everybody obviously we've been promoting your particular film. They just wanted to know your take on the Lundgren He-Man, on his actual portrayal, being that I think that was his second role in any film ever. How did you think that that panned out? I mean, did you like that movie? Do you still like that movie to this day, even for nostalgia purposes?
I'll answer the movie part first. I do like the movie. I enjoy the movie, partially for nostalgic purposes. And it's, I love the 80s. I'm obsessed with it. I love He-Man. And that movie, I mean, it is an 80s movie.
Absolutely.
I love Gwildor. I think it's hilarious.
Why not Orko? Makes you wonder. They put Gwildor in there. Why not Orko, for God's sake? Obviously, I'm sure it's budget constraints, but it's they do that in every movie. And the Turtles, too, they didn't put Bebop and Rocksteady. They put Toka and Raz. I don't get it, man. Just put the character that you're copying in the movie, for God's sake. But I digress. I'm sorry.
Well, I've heard... I've heard that there were a lot of constraints and a lot of budget issues, and I don't think that it turned out the ultimate way that the filmmakers wanted it to turn out. But
no, it was
but I
shut
like
down.
It's got a lot of charm to it. It's got a lot of good acting. Dolph Lundgren's acting, I'm not going to sit here and bash a professional actor because I'm not an actor, so I'm not going to say, well, he sucked. But that movie was definitely a Skeletor movie.
Absolutely.
The way the character was written, and the quality of the delivery. So I think that he was okay. He wasn't John Irwin in the Filmation He-Man. That will always be He-Man to me.
Yeah.
So
No, and I say, I mean, it's I think the movie's great. I mean, I was just watching it last night. I watched a lot of He-Man stuff before you'd come on because the nostalgia is really there. Now, obviously that movie, your two principal antagonists and protagonists, He-Man and Skeletor's in it, but in your movie, for the fans that are out there are other characters from that movie that are coming over into your interpretation of the He-Man universe, that being Teela and, like you said, on your film, Evil Lynn. You do have some images of them on your website, and I really like the interpretation you have because it does seem like you're going for a more gritty interpretation of that He-Man universe. Was that at all inspired by this recent event of comic book movies like the Nolan Batman trilogy and some of these other movies of trying to be more gritty? Is that any emphasis, or did you just think that's what would do He-Man the most justice at this time in our life right now?
I'm not a huge fan of the new Batman movies. I can't say that the new way of superhero movies being darker, I can't say that didn't inspire me, because I mean, maybe it did. I didn't set out one day and like have a plan and write down, okay, look at these movies, notice that they are dark, make yours like that. But it probably did inspire me, because I'm a musician too. So when I write music, I tend to always write like what I've been listening to, for the past month or whatever. But so it probably did affect me. But I just felt like that I just wanted it to be realistic. I just wanted it to be like, okay, even though it's a very unrealistic, type of thing, magic, doesn't exist, and demons and aliens, all these crazy fanciful things. But, if they did, let's make it, grounded, in some way, and make it believable and not look like, just people, with homemade costumes.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Well, let me ask another question. So about the film, obviously the name implies something big happening or a epic battle. Now, Grayskull being in the name, obviously, I'm assuming that set piece is going to be there in some way or another. Are we going to get any set pieces from other parts of Eternia, like perhaps Snake Mountain? Is any of that going to be in the movie, or did you plan on putting something like little Easter eggs of the universe in the movie for fans to grab onto that you may not elaborate on per se?
I will say that there is no Snake Mountain. I mean, Snake Mountain exists, but you will not see it in the film. There are, you will see a couple different places, maybe even another planet, but the main, 98.2% of the movie takes place inside Castle Grayskull.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I am so excited for that. I can't tell you how much I am and how many people I've talked to. Literally, there's been dozens, if not hundreds of people that I've had conversations with over the past few days via social media and in real world that have just been absolutely excited about this film. So what I want to do is we're approaching about the 30-minute mark, and I would like you to just go ahead and towards the tail end of this program, just go ahead and touch on a little bit of what your end vision for this is. If you have any like final comments you want to give to the fanboys and fangirls out there, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all.
No problem. Pleasure.
And I hope that whoever listens to this finds it informative and entertaining. But so my goal with this movie is to, put out something that I can be proud of, something that I can look back and be like, hey, I made something cool that's, related to He-Man. I want to get this out to hold fans over until, we get an official Sony He-Man reboot. Of course, there's no way that I could ever compete with that. I don't have, millions of dollars and things. So, but I do have, a budget. I do have talented actors, and I do have a crew and equipment and enough to make something that I feel is quality and that people will like and enjoy. There will always be haters out there. For every internet troll that like says something nasty about me or the movie on the internet, there's 100 people that tell me what you're doing, it looks so awesome. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see it. And I hope that I don't let anybody down. I mean, I want to tell a story, a simple story of He-Man versus Skeletor. The past several years with the classics figures coming out in the bios and the new comic and even back in 2000X, it was all expanded on. Like the main story from back in the 80s had been expanded on, and it should be. They made Skeletor into King Randor's brother, and they've done all of this new stuff, which is awesome. I love it, but I just want to go back, and think kind of as a kid, and be like, okay, what would be an awesome, story if something, happened? So, there's depth to the story, there's emotion to the story, but, it's still simplistic, and it still, reminds me of, those old school 80s stories. And I hope that people will appreciate that and like it and for what it is. And if you don't like it, then don't tell me, and don't be an internet troll. Just go away. I'm kidding.
Don't be a douche. Don't be that guy. I can say it. You be nice. You got a movie to sell. I can tell them, don't be douches, man. Be happy. My God.
I know. Well, it's funny that I don't think people realize. A lot of people do, but there are a few people out there, those trolls that don't realize how much effort and an insane amount of work and time and blood and sweat went into, and literal tears. People were crying. We were so sleep deprived. There were tears. It was a rough few months there, but we have worked so hard to make this the best possible, and we still have a long road ahead. And I hope in the end, when people watch this, that they will watch it and walk away thinking, wow, that was cool. I'm glad that I watched that. That made me feel happy. And then, a year later, we'll watch the real deal with Sony and possibly Jeff Wadlow directing. Keep your fingers crossed.
All right. Absolutely. Well, I can tell you right now, you said earlier that you may not have the $1 million budget to make that happen, but what I can tell from the effort that you've put in is that you have something more important. Not only do you have talent, but you have vision and determination to see it through when a lot of people wouldn't, man. And to that, you already have the power, so to speak, pun intended. But one thing I want to ask is maybe perhaps as you approach closer, I'd love you to stop in the show and just kind of give us a check-in, man. And let us know how things are coming, and we'll just keep putting it out there. We'll promote it from time to time for you, because I definitely want to be stayed up on what all is going on with the program. But But for this particular episode of Fanboy Frenzy, we want to ask you to please go to facebook.com/Fanboy Frenzy. You can visit us at mixcloud.com/Fanboy Frenzy. YouTube, Vine, search it, we're there. From the shadow of eternity, we are actually here right now in Fanboy Frenzy. We're excited about it, and we're thankful that you tuned in this week. And again, Daniel, I want to thank you so much. Websites, did you want to go ahead and plug those real quick, sir?
Oh, I've got like 1,000 websites, but I'll give you just a couple.
Okay.
There's followgrayskull.com, facebook.com/followgrayskull. I guess that's all you need to know, really. Those are the two main ones.
All right, everybody, you heard it here. Special edition interview, Daniel Benedict, Fall of Grayskull. You have to keep an eye on it. From Fanboy Frenzy, signing off from the shadow of Eternia, this is Ryan Jarvis, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.